How we doing? I'm going to talk a little bit about Black Lives Matter, not the organization, because there's nothing good to say about the organization, Black Lives Matter. I'm talking about the movement. I'm talking about the mantra, Black Lives Matter, and this thing about how conservatives, white conservatives, kind of bristle at the notion. And the reality is, well, we do, but there's a reason. All right, the whole movement is predicated on the idea that somehow, somewhere, somebody was under the impression that we didn't think Black Lives mattered. I don't know where this came from. I know this is an idea that's perpetuated by the left and the media that somehow all of white middle America and conservatives, and Republicans, that we don't care about Black lives, that we never thought Black lives mattered. And that's just not true. I'm a white conservative. I know a lot of white conservatives. No one ever once ever said to me, Black lives don't matter. We don't really care about Black lives. Those words never entered the conversation. In fact, in our conversations, unless it's in the media, unless it's being thrown in our face, we really don't discuss race a lot. It's not something we obsess over. We see people. We see individuals. We don't see classes of people. We don't see it like that. That's my experience. Okay, so I can only tell you my experience and talking to the people that I know in the white conservative community. And the thing that boggles our mind is that when we would watch the evening news and we'd watch the news go down, we'd watch the stories locally and nationally, what we were wondering is why it seemed like those people in the black community don't seem to think Black Lives Matter. Because there's so much violence and there's so much black on black crime. And when we watch the news, that's what we see. And so when somebody comes along and says, we don't think Black Lives Matter, and that it's wrong for us to say all lives matter, then that's why we bristle. Because we're really kind of tired of being told we're racist because we don't think Black Lives Matter. It never crossed our mind that Black lives didn't matter. Okay, so that's just ridiculous. When it comes to the black community, and we all see, every American, everybody who claims to be an American, who claims to be a patriot, should really be concerned about all communities. Black, white, Latino, all these communities that we as a people have divided ourselves into. I want to see all Americans succeed. We're the most prosperous, most powerful, most revered nation in all of history. Everybody in this country should be prospering. But there is definitely a disparity. We can see the disparity. But what is causing the disparity? The reality is, and this is just being candid, is that the problems within the black community are coming from within the black community. And there's really nothing at all that me or anybody outside the black community can do to address it. There's nothing I can do. I can treat every single person with respect and love every single person the way Jesus loves them. And I can teach my children to do the same thing. But I can't fix what's going on in the black community. The black community needs leadership within the black community. You need the people from within the black community to rise up and address these problems and change the culture, change the mantra. And the black community needs to stop listening to people like LeBron James and people like Jay-Z who just keep feeding bitterness and envy and entitlement and blame. That doesn't help anybody. Nobody has ever risen out of poverty or risen out of their status or their state by being bitter and by blaming other people and waiting for the white community to get our act together and take the blame for things that happened 200, 400 years ago. That is ridiculous. That is a ridiculous idea. I want to see black people succeed. I want to see all Americans to succeed. Okay, but there's nothing I can do to help you. And I'm not going to take the blame for things that I have no control over. So you can't, it's kind of childish for you to sit there and say, well, Mr. White Conservative, we're going to blame you for all the woes in the world, but you're not allowed to chime in or give any ideas on how we're going to address these problems. We're just going to make you foot the bill and take the blame, but shut up, and we'll let you know when it's okay for you to speak. That's not how the real world works. People who think like that are the people that would take their ball home when they were kids because they were losing the kickball game. Okay, so that's the kind of mentality we're talking about. The reality is that the black community needs black leadership, and they need a revival within the black community. And you need to believe that Black Lives Matter, okay? Because we all believe Black Lives Matter. We all believe all lives matter, and we understand that there's problems within the black community. and 90% of us, except for like a lunatic fringe minority of people that the media keeps wanting to pretend are really a problem in the United States of America. They're not. Okay, they're not. The KKK is a bunch of bozos in bed sheets in some garage someplace drinking beer, talking about how they're going to overthrow the government. It's not going to happen. They're not a threat to anybody. The same thing with whatever next boogeyman that the media wants to pretend is a real problem. That's not the problem. And the KKK is not keeping black people down. What's keeping the black community and the disparity between the black community and the rest of America is the culture within the black community, and that's what needs to change. I can't change it. I can pray for you. I can give you suggestions. Okay, I can tell you what I think you need to do, and one of the things you need to do is stop being bitter, stop holding on to the past. We all know American history. None of us are proud about some of the things that happened in American history. Okay, we all understand slavery was abhorrent. We get that. Nobody's pretending it was okay, but hanging on to it in 2020 and thinking that you're going to blame me or blame my kids or make me pay restitution for things that happened before my family was even here. I'm only a fourth generation American. Okay, so nobody in my family owned slaves. Nobody in my family benefited from slavery. My immigrant great 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 grandfather who came over here from Italy and hit Ellis Island and didn't speak English and got a job and doing whatever he was doing in New York City, he didn't benefit from any slavery. He wasn't being treated much differently than black people back in the turn of the century, the turn of the 20th century, 19th century. So I can't take the blame for what's going on in the black community, and I can't solve the problems in the black community. That has to happen from in the black community. And you need to start looking at people like Ben Carson and looking at people like Candace Owens and people that are coming and they're self-made. Ben Carson is a fantastic story about somebody who came out of poverty and rose above it because he had a fantastic mother. You know, and there's lots of stories of lots of people that overcame their situation, but they did it by self-empowerment and personal responsibility, not by blaming others and waiting for somebody else to fix their problems. Okay, so it's not that we don't think Black Lives Matter. We do believe Black Lives Matter, and it's not that we want to see the black community fail, because nobody who calls themselves an American wants to see any community fail. We all want America to be prosperous for everyone, and it can be. Not by redistributing, not by redistribution of wealth, but by creating more wealth, by for all of us benefiting from all the opportunities. And you need to do it yourself. You need to stop waiting for other people and waiting for the government to fix your problems and stop blaming other people. Okay, you need to turn within, and somewhere out there, someplace in the black community is the next Martin Luther King Jr., is the next Frederick Douglass, is the next whoever it is that's going to be the one that rises up and motivates the black community to be self-empowered and take responsibility and of your own destiny. That's where I stand, and I think that's where most Americans stand. That's what will make Black Lives Matter. That'll show everyone that Black Lives Matter.